On 12 News at 4, we are all about bringing you solutions and empowering you to better your lives. Every day, we bring some of the Valley's most experienced professionals to discuss trending topics on health, ways to save money and improve your financial life, the law, relationships. We even have an expert on pets. And it's not just us asking the questions, we give you, the viewer, the opportunity to weigh in and ask questions too. Now, we're putting all these segments together in one place for you. This is Ask the Expert. On this Feel Good Friday, we are talking about Korean skincare. Have you noticed it has really taken the world by storm? The famous 10-step skincare to get that glass skin look, it's really become all the rage. Korea is one of the top 10 beauty markets in the world. By the year 2030, the global K-beauty market is expected to reach more than $18 billion, according to Straits Research. So, what's behind the snail slime, bee venom, and morphing masks that they use? Let's ask the expert. Joining me now is dermatologist Dr. Brenda Letowski of Clear Dermatology. Why is K-beauty so popular these days?
Well, Tram, it's trendy. It's all over social media, as you mentioned. It's novel. It's not the same old ingredients that us American dermatologists are recommending. It's fun. It comes in fun packaging with bright colors. And of course, we all want that amazing skin that many Korean individuals have.
Yes, it's flawless. Okay, so this is interesting. You actually went to Korea recently. Tell me about that.
I did. I went to visit a skincare company that I did a clinical trial for. And while I was there, I went to look for the ideal Korean skincare regimen.
Yeah.
And Tram, it was like walking down a street with 100 Sephoras.
Ooh.
There were so many options, and it was a bit overwhelming, even for a dermatologist.
I bet.
But I did notice that the active ingredients are a little bit lacking. A lot of products were botanical based, just things that are not proven by clinical trials like we see here in the US.
Okay, I'm going to get to that in a second because I've always wondered, you know, which is better, what should we be aware of? But I want to get into some key ingredients though that we should be looking for if we do decide to get into K-beauty.
Sure. Well, three that I think have promise and that I think are very intriguing would be ginseng, which improves circulation. And galactomyces, which can brighten the skin.
Okay.
And then finally, an antioxidant called Centella asiatica, or SICA for
Interesting.
short.
All right. So let's go back into what people should know, because you kind of alluded to the fact that they may not be as effective as U.S. products, right?
Well, it's just that in the U.S., we have so many clinical trials that support these active ingredients. And so I think one thing that differs in Korea than the U.S. is the culture. The culture in Korea is to avoid the sun starting probably at birth.
Right.
And that lack of sun exposure will result in beautiful skin. Here, someone might be starting a little bit later in life. They might have gotten some sun exposure. And so the lack of active ingredients can be something to consider. The FDA does not regulate the sunscreens. Our FDA does not regulate the Korean sunscreens. So that could be something to consider. And it's also a lot of work.
10 steps.
10 steps. So
I'm lucky if I go through 5, but yeah, that's time consuming and it's a lot.
It is a lot. So just things to consider. Many of the Korean products are based on hydration, and if you want something a little bit more active, then you might consider adding an American-based product.
You know, one thing too on that list that I thought was interesting was sometimes these photos that you see can be altered. Nothing like a filter, like a good filter, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. So, and it's very hard to digest, to pick through all of that on social media. So, of course, little shameless plug, I always recommend going to a board certified dermatologist to help someone sift through it, even if it is the skincare line that you want to pursue.
Yeah, totally understandable. Okay, you know what? There was a recent headline that we had talked about a couple weeks back about sunscreens and how what's produced here in the U.S. is less effective than other products sold abroad, like, for instance, in Korea. So I wanted to get your thoughts on, are Korean sunscreens then maybe better than U.S. sunscreens, you think? Or what's your take on that?
Perhaps, and I'll tell you why. Number one would be the filters that are used overseas. Our FDA regulates sunscreens because they're considered an over-the-counter medication, and so sometimes they're slower to approve newer and more effective filters.
Right.
So in Europe and in Asia, a lot of times these filters may be more sophisticated and perhaps more effective.
Okay.
So they may work better. Number two, they have another rating system. So SPF is a rating system for UVB. There's a rating system for another harmful ray called UVA that's used in Japanese and Korean sunscreens.
Okay, interesting. All right, Brenda, thank you so much. I know you must have a lot of questions that you want to ask her, so text us 602-444-12. To Ask the Expert, here to answer your questions live on air about Korean skincare is dermatologist Dr. Brenda Letowski. All right, our first one is from Lauren in Tempe. I've seen snail mucin go viral on TikTok Shop. Is this a product you would recommend? I've wondered this too.
I think it's okay to try. There's not enough data to endorse it. So I would rather see the viewers invest in a really good hyaluronic acid product.
Okay, good to know. Rachel says, what's the best approach to Korean skincare if you have dry skin?
Well, this is where Korean skincare kind of specializes in. All those 10 steps, they're all different ways of moisturizing. So if you want to try a Korean skincare, try a few, see what works best for you.
Okay, all right. Christina from Phoenix, where should I purchase Korean SPF and how do I know it's legit?
You can look online for this, and one website you can use is Yes Style.
Oh, wait, Yes.
Yes, and then Style.
Style, okay,
yes.
just like clothing style. Okay,
Exactly,
got it.
exactly. Legit-wise, I think it's best to always buy from a website such as that or a direct manufacturer. Do not buy products from Amazon.
Oh, that's interesting because there's so much.
So many people have been duped by Amazon products. Although, if the company partners with Amazon directly and Amazon is just distributor, then you're fine.
Oh, that is great to know. All right, Jamie asks, do topical collagen masks work as well as adding a collagen supplement to your diet? Is one better than the other? Is it safe to do both?
I would say the collagen masks I probably would not support because of the lack of evidence. Again, not going to hurt anything. So
Right.
you could always try it. If you feel like you get results, keep doing it.
Okay.
Collagen supplementation, it's a great protein source.
Right.
So people who might need that in their diet often will see benefit in their skin, hair, and nails. And so
Yes.
if you're going to do that, I recommend an organic source.
Okay, that's interesting. That actually is a segment that I want to do in the future about collagen stuff. So I'm glad we touched on that. Okay, Marissa says, it seems to be that the Korean beauty philosophy is to maintain and care for your skin before you have issues that need repair. Where in the US, many times we don't pay attention until we notice signs of aging. As you age, what is the timetable for when to use anti-aging products?
I love that question. I would say probably starting in your 20s is a good age range. Lately, there have been preteens and teens who have been starting the anti-aging process maybe a little too early, but the earlier the better. Don't despair if you haven't started yet and you're above your 20s, you can start at any time. And that's why it's so useful to use a more active product.
Oh, okay, interesting. The tweens skincare, that's another big trend that I've been seeing lately too.
Huge,
So yeah,
huge.
that's another segment.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, no kidding. And you know, we're getting so many ideas from our viewers as well. So Brenda, thank you so very much. Thanks to our viewers for the questions. As for all teenagers, now that school's out, many are trying to earn some extra cash. Last year, teens made up nearly 1 in 5 summer jobs. according to Gusto, a payroll process for small businesses. The top 3 sectors for summer teen hires were in sports and rec, food and beverage, and education. So how do you get your teen ready for a summer job? Let's ask the expert. Joining me now is Greg Merced, financial planner and CEO of Busy Kid. Okay, Greg, I know sometimes it can be really hard for your teen to get a summer job, especially if it's their very first one.
Yeah.
So how did they start the process?
The process has changed now. Okay,
Yeah.
It used to be you'd walk in, give you an application, you fill it out, you give it back, right?
Yeah, the good old paper application.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore. Now it's go to our website, fill it out. And then it's kind of a black hole, honestly.
right.
Kids don't get called back and it's like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
Once you do the online submission, go back in person and follow up on it.
Oh,
That's how you get it going.
so
Believe me, my son did it.
when you, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
You speak from example
Made it
here. When
happen.
you say go back in person, follow up. So is that, via email to start that conversation?
No way.
Look,
go back in.
go right
Go
back into the
and
place.
say, I submitted my application. I want to follow up on it. What's going on?
Oh, I
Yeah,
like
in
that.
person, take the initiative.
Okay, how times have changed. Okay, so when they get their job, they get their very first paycheck. That could be a shocker for them.
We've seen these viral videos, right?
Yeah.
Kids opening it up and they're like, ah, they're just traumatized.
Where's the rest of it?
almost, right?
Yeah.
So we have to, I think it's a good idea to set that before they get it.
Okay.
As a parent, I'm so proud of you. You got a job. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, when you get your first paycheck, it's not going to be what you think. You
Right.
think it's $15 times 10 hours is $150.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to be like that.
No.
The best way to teach them that is when you're driving around with them. I know this sounds kind of weird. You're driving around, you point out the fire truck, the police, the road that we're driving on, the lights, and say, these things cost money, and that's why your taxes are going to be taken out of your paycheck.
I love that.
Then you connect it to something that they actually can understand
Right.
instead of they rip me off.
Right, and they don't see it. But if
Yeah.
they see it and you explain to them, this is why you're paying all this extra and why your paycheck is so much less.
Exactly. Instead of they stole my money. 'Cause
Right.
That's exactly what they're going to think.
Okay, so when they get that paycheck, they need to get some direct deposit going, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
direct deposit I think is helpful because they're not going to just cash their check and go blow it.
Right.
Okay. This is really important. It's invisible these days, right? Money is. It just kind of boop and it's in your bank.
Yeah.
So I think, we talk about this all the time, but a balanced financial approach is really important, and direct deposit kind of starts the ball rolling. Okay. And then so you can say, okay, the money has come into my account. I got to split it up. I got to save and invest a little bit of it.
Yes.
I've got to share a little bit of it, give it away to charity. I know, sounds weird.
Oh, no, but
And
you
then-
plant that seed early.
Yeah, and then you spend, and you can spend the rest on a card.
Okay.
That's why, Busy Kid does that, but
Right.
it really teaches them a balanced financial approach every time they earn money.
And when you divvy up that paycheck, how much goes to this, how much goes to that?
Yeah. It's got to be automated. It's got to be easy, right?
Yeah.
It's got to make sense and happens automatic. If you can get that set in a kid early on in life,
Right.
watch out. They're going to be set up. They're going to be literally saving and investing money and really make it a big difference.
How about when the teen can't get a job? What can parents do to help?
Okay, I've done this. It, once again, goes in the black hole. They never call back, even if they follow up, right? Use your connections, okay, if you can.
Yeah.
You maybe know somebody who owns a business or,
Right.
My first son, I called up a friend and I said, I know you own a roofing company. I want my son to.
Sure.
It was hard,
Yeah,
right?
I bet.
July, it's 1,000 degrees. He's out there
Yeah.
busting it out, learned a lot.
Yeah.
So use some connections if you have to.
No, I
Get
get
the
it.
ball rolling,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. But it's true. I mean, it can be so difficult, especially when your son or, your daughter doesn't have any experience,
Totally.
but they can work hard.
They
That's
can
what
work hard,
matters.
or they can learn to work hard.
Yes.
And sweat it out.
They got to start somewhere.
They got to start
Yeah.
somewhere.
Good stuff.
It's really important.
Okay, thank you, Greg. So your turn now. If you have any questions you want to ask our expert today, text us 602-444-1212. Again, make sure to let us know who you are and where you're texting from, and we'll get some of your questions answered live on the air in about 20 minutes. All right, Rachel, thank you. Time now to ask the expert. Here to answer your questions live on air about teens getting a summer job is financial planner Greg Merced. Okay, our first question, what should my child expect to make What about college students who are at home on break? And is there any room to negotiate?
Okay, so I think I had my first job, and I actually went in and talked to my dad because he was my boss, the very first job.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, how about a raise? When am I going to get a raise? He said, your raise will be effective when you are. Okay, so that's how my negotiation went.
Right.
Didn't go.
This
very
is
well.
what you get, and you're gonna. That's what you get.
That's
yeah.
it. Get out of here.
Right.
So, you know, minimum wage in Arizona is $14.35 now, which seems like a lot of money.
I know.
But you know, I'm thinking that first job, I wouldn't go running to negotiate. Unless you do something really amazing.
No kidding, especially for your first one. I was gonna say my first one was at the Limited, the store that is now no more.
In the mall.
Right? In the mall
Yeah.
at $4.20.
Wow.
That's how
you were
old I am.
big time. You were bringing it in.
Oh yeah, big time. And then all my money went back to the store because all I bought were clothes. All right, so next question. Are there any rules for how much or how late teens can work?
I don't think there's any rules. I just think when you're a teen, you should be working a lot.
Yeah.
Okay?
Prove yourself,
as much
right?
as possible, especially in the summer. You've got nothing to do. You're
Right.
out of school. Work. And when you get that kind of work money connection going, it really helps and it gets them motivated. So work as much as you can.
Yeah, good advice. Elaine in Gilbert says, my granddaughter is looking for a summer job. What jobs and businesses are taking 15-year-olds?
Okay, so here's a couple of thoughts. Number one, chores. I mean, literally give them chores around the house.
Yeah.
And let them bust it out and earn some money and get your house cleaned up at the same time.
Yeah,
I think
win-win.
There's
Yeah.
an 85-year-old Harvard study that links chores to successful financial futures.
Right.
Like, this seems obvious. Right?
Yeah.
Make it happen. And if you run out of stuff, your house is just amazingly spick and span. Send them to the neighbors.
Yeah.
Have them babysit. You know, the other one that's, I think, a big moneymaker is pet sitting.
Oh,
That one is a big deal.
Gosh, you
People
are
will
absolutely
shell
right.
it out for their dogs.
Yes.
So-
No, that's a good idea too. You know, my producer Christy, she was also saying too that sometimes, you know, when it comes to soccer games or whatever, kids can referee and get paid well as well. I remember when my kid was in soccer, like a teenager was reffing the game and he made some good money.
Wash cars, mow the lawn. There's lots of stuff to do.
Okay.
And so yeah, I think those are some good
ideas. All right, Emily from Scottsdale asks, what are good resources for helping my teenage son who is on the autism spectrum find a job? What do you think?
So this is a pretty hard one. There's some amazing things now. Now we live out in the East Valley. There's an amazing place. It's called Mains and Miracles. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's a place where they do kind of equine therapy for kids and adults even.
Yeah.
This is a great place. Like I think that would be a great place for them to go and do something like that.
Right.
Work with animals, hands-on
Ooh,
stuff.
I like that.
And ask around.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a really good one.
Right.
There's if you know somebody who owns a business, they're a little more flexible,
Yeah.
they're going to help you
They
out.
would know.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
going to let you do some things. Maybe it's remote. Maybe it's
Right.
kind of alone a little bit.
Yeah.
A little more controlled environment. They're going to help.
Yeah, go to the source. That's
Go
a
to-
good
go to some
idea.
people that
I
you
like
know.
that. And that sounds like a good story idea, that Maine's place that you were
Oh,
talking about.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
we'll look into that.
amazing.
Here's our next one. My kids are already blowing all the money they're making.
No.
How much should I make them save or invest?
This is natural. Of
Yeah.
course they want to blow all their money,
Yeah, they're
right?
excited, yeah.
They just want to earn it and burn it. That's what I always say, right?
Yes.
They just really want to do that. So you got to start early and start teaching them that that's not what you do. You can't earn it and burn it. What
Right.
you've got to do is split it up in these 3 categories that
Right.
I'm always talking about. Put some in save and invest. The younger they are, the bigger percentage that should be. Because they don't have a lot of expenses, right?
Right.
If you're young, if you're 12 or something, you
Yeah.
should be saving 50% of your money, right?
like that.
Maybe give away 10% and then spend the rest.
Okay.
And as they get older, they'll, have more expenses that they need to kind of take on.
Yeah.
And then that can slim back a little bit.
That's a good rule of thumb.
yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Split it up.
Yeah, Greg, great advice. Thank you so very much for helping our viewers too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now that summer vacation is here, we can't forget about our other family members, our pets. Here are some interesting pet travel stats for this year, according to Dogster. 54% of cat and dog owners plan to travel with their pet. More than half of travelers prefer to travel with their pets by car. More than a third of owners take shorter vacations because of their pets, and just over half of travelers base their travel plans on accommodating their pets. Oh, the things that we'll do. So how do we make it easier for our four-legged travelers? Let's ask the expert. Joining me now is Brett the vet with Arizona Animal Hospital. Okay, let's start with the fact that most people will be traveling with their pets by car. What should they know?
Traveling by car, the most important thing is you remember it's hot here and your dog's safe in the car.
Yes.
If you're not going to be in the car with them. Also, make sure your dog's used to the car. Some people you don't just throw the dog in the car and go because it might have unanticipated consequences, vomiting, just anxiety.
Yes.
So we talked a little bit about this before. We want to desensitize, put our dog in the car, take short trips to the mailbox, around the block. Make sure your dog's used to the vehicle, maybe a little bit longer trip. Make sure they can look above the window. Some of the little dogs can't see above the window, and it's kind of like being in the bottom of the belly of the ship. You get seasick. You don't know which way is up. So these dogs get car sick. They'll throw up in the car. Ooh. They're miserable. If you have a dog like that, we have medications that you can get to help curb seasickness, vomiting, that kind of thing, and anxiety. So really just get them used to it, and don't be afraid to give them some firm commands and let them know that it's okay to be in the car.
Right.
Instead of coddling them, because when you coddle, it kind of amplifies the anxiety in the car.
And do you recommend that, your animals be in the back seat?
Yes.
Yeah.
In a crate or tethered to the seatbelt harness.
Yes.
Sometimes they have special little elevated crates, like a car seat, which I think are safer for the small pets.
Okay.
Not on your lap. We have people, we hear about these stories where the dogs or the cats will get underneath the pedals of your car and you're trying to hit the brakes and you're...
Oh, that's such a nightmare. Oh, my goodness.
I've had it happen before, and it's just not a smart thing to do, and it's just not safe.
A lot of times you'll see the dogs just hanging out outside the window, enjoying the fresh air, ears flapping.
Loving life.
Is it living their best life?
Yeah.
Do you recommend that? I mean, should dogs be just hanging out like that, saying hi to all the drivers?
I would do it personally if I were a dog. But those are the dogs that come and see me for eye infections and sometimes irritation. So maybe short little bursts.
Got it.
But not like down the highway.
Yeah.
So we do see some eye troubles with that.
Okay, that's
maybe
good
avoid
to know.
that.
Well, what about if people want to fly with their pets?
That is becoming more and more popular, not just nationally, but internationally. We are having people come to our clinic all the time, flying all over the world, and there are different requirements that you can go to the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, who governs those health certificates. And if you are traveling, you need to know, you need to have valid rabies. Depending on where you're going, you might need flea, tick, parasite prevention. So like when you're heading overseas to the Olympics, those horses that are going to travel over there, they're going to need special tests to be verified free of diseases, free of parasites. Same thing for our dogs that are traveling all over, but most of all, health certificates for the airplane. It's too hot to fly in cargo right now. But if your dog, you can sometimes pay for a ticket. But check the regulations too with the airline and make sure that they allow dogs. Some of the pet therapy dog requirements are getting more stringent because I think some people have kind of bending those rules there. So what you don't want to do is show up to the airport with your dog and get turned away. I've seen that happen too. So be prepared for a backup plan if that's the case and you have a pet sitter.
Right. And real quick, what about when our pets stay in the hotel? That can be difficult, especially if you don't know how your dog's going to react in a new environment.
I've always been a fan of the crate. The crate is the home away from home, and we've advocated for crate training for the life of the pet. It's where they like to sleep. It's their comfort zone, and that crate travels well, and it's a familiar home away from home for that dog wherever you are. So I'd say take the crate and make sure the dog's comfortable in it.
Excellent advice, Brett. Thank you so very much. Time now to ask the expert. Here to answer your questions live on the air about traveling with your pets is Brett the vet. All right, our first one. We are headed out on a road trip this summer and can't decide if we should take the dog with us or leave it at home. What's the best way to go about figuring this out?
I think if a dog likes a short trip in the car, they'll be okay with a long trip in the car.
Right.
If you do take a long trip in the car, anticipate the needs. Make sure if you have a crate, I'd take at least 1 or 2 leashes or a harness and keep the leash and collar on the dog. I see this a lot, even in my own parking lot, where the pet owners are getting their pet out of the car and they're going to go put the leash on. When they open the door, the dog jumps, bolts, and running all over the place.
Oh my gosh.
So make sure you leave the collar and leash on before you open the doors, so they don't run. And if you're in unfamiliar territory, that can lead to problems. So travel with your food. If your dog has any medications or health conditions that they've experienced in the past, maybe anticipate that those could happen again during stressful travel, and bring some of those medications with you. And then finally, if you know where you're going, maybe check with the local area for the local emergency clinics or veterinarians in that area, just in case. So you can call them and have your records with you if you have a dog who has a health condition. So the veterinarian, whomever, might be more familiar with your pet should you need in the event to see somebody.
Hopefully you don't have to use it or know where it's at, but it's good to know.
I think the good point here too is if you've never traveled with your dog and you don't know what to expect, sometimes it's best to leave them at home because they're happier. And not everybody's, not every environment, you might miss out on a lot.
Right.
Travel with your rabies certificates too.
Okay. Excellent advice. Okay. If we take our dog with us on the road, what should we do to prepare? You know what? That was a second question from the same person, and I think we went over that with the certificates and the food and the leash and everything like that. So Susan from Phoenix says, what is the best way to treat a dog's paws when they are raw and blistering from the hot pavement? Oh my goodness.
Susan, where are our pictures?
Oh,
Susan. So yeah, obviously we got to avoid the hot pavement, and then those boots are another great thing to use.
I just bought those.
Did you get
because,
some?
You know, we're getting into the summertime. Yeah.
They walk kind of funny when they first put them on.
Yeah, they're
it's
like, what is this? They try to take it off.
They get used to them though.
Yeah.
But that's okay. So the boots are helpful. If you have lesions, I think you just have to. If your dog's burnt your foot, I think a little convalescence at home.
Yeah.
And if you need to see a veterinarian for medications for pain or infection, if they get bad and they're not leaving them alone, then you come and see me and I take care of it for you.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh, I don't want to think about that.
It's getting
Poor
hot
thing.
quick.
It is so hot with these.
I think we're going to have some of these problems in my clinic this week.
I think so. Okay, Denise from Gold Canyon asks, is it safe to give your dog a supplement to assist her with being calm before a road trip? Good question.
Hi, Denise. Would love to see a picture of your doggy.
I know.
But hey, I'm not going to give you a hard time beyond that. But yeah, I think these supplements are okay. You know, I do a dry run where we don't just, okay, we're going to go on our trip today. Let's give her the pill, the medication, the supplement, and see what happens. I'd say do a dry run at home for the first week.
Right.
And see if it has an effect. Put your dog in a car for a short trip around the block to the mailbox and see if they do okay. And if so, I think that's a safe choice. If you need something stronger, that's usually when you come and see us, and we help you pick, through trial and error sometimes, the right medication.
Yeah.
And it is a trial and error. We can't get it right the first time. When you're dealing with the brain and behavior issues with travel, every dog's different.
Right. Okay, good advice. This viewer says, I am moving 300 miles away with 2 cats. Any suggestions to help them travel with less stress?
Well, I've had worse days. Let's see, 300 miles. I'd say get them in the crate, hit the gas on the interstate, and it'll be over before you know it. So with cats, they're very unpredictable, but if you have 2 crates separate, maybe a blanket where they can nest and hide, I think that would be fine.
Yeah.
And if they're very vocal, like for 300 miles, earplugs. Don't forget the earplugs.
Oh, but that's interesting. You said 2 separate crates, not combine them into one big one.
You know, if they get along really well, you're fine. You can put them together, and that might make them happier.
Right.
But if you know you'll know your cats. If they're better separate than separate, if they're better together, you can keep them together. And something to cover them up, and maybe secure the crate so it's not rattling around. Don't let them roam free in the car.
Gosh.
Medication can be helpful for the pet and for your sanity if the cats are vocalizing the whole trip.
Right.
But again, a dry run, if they can easily sometimes just getting them in the crate's a challenge.
Yeah, I bet.
So if you can get them in the crate, put them in the car, take a short trip, see how it goes. And
do
then
that test run.
Yep, do the test run.
All right, Brett, excellent stuff. I'm sure we have many more questions from our viewers. We appreciate your time.
Well, did you know Arizona is one of the top 10 states in the country for cheaters? Research site EarthWeb ranked Arizona the 7th worst state for infidelity. The findings are from an analysis of nationwide Google searches looking at interest in affair websites, common questions and advice, along with spyware apps. The data revealed people in the Grand Canyon state searched for ways to cheat an average of 15.5 times per month for every 100,000 residents. Yowza! So let's ask the expert what's going on here and what signs can we be on the lookout for with family therapist Juliana Litton.
Oh my goodness. I tell you what, well, one of the first things I think is important is to identify kind of this difference between the emotional and the physical affair, because a lot of people think that if you're having an emotional affair, oh, it's not that big of a deal.
It's not cheating.
But it is cheating, because the deal is you're still emotionally entrained, much like a married couple or somebody who's really involved in that deep connection. And it can be just as devastating just because the sexual piece isn't there.
Certainly. So the emotional cheating is still a thing. I know that some of the stats were showing approximately 20% of married men have admitted to having an affair and 13% of married women. So what really can we be looking for as far as signs if someone is moving into that emotional affair? What should we be watching out for?
So here's a good way to look at it. So maybe you're with a colleague or a friend or, just an acquaintance, and all of a sudden you cross that boundary where you start sharing things that really you shouldn't share, maybe personal information, things about your spouse, that kind of stuff. And when that starts to happen, you feel that support from the other person, and it can be a problem.
And that's what starts to spiral. And then I see that here in our bullet points, avoid mentioning the other person. So like when you're with your significant other, you're not really talking about this other colleague or friend or somebody on your softball team or something.
That's right. You stop. Even though you did before, you start kind of holding it close to your, chest there.
Okay.
You don't talk about it as much.
A little more of a red flag.
Exactly.
Okay, signs for people to notice when their partners may be involved with one of these types of affairs. Is there going to be some obvious signs?
There's going to be a lot of signs. So you're going to notice maybe that they're not communicating with you in the same way, in that deep way. You're going to see a change maybe in behavior. So all of a sudden, maybe they're working out more. Maybe they're liking a different type of music they didn't like, right? Maybe there's some more of this kind of gaslighting. So they're going to be trying to point it to you. Well, you're an awful person, so I'm going to make sure I'm having the effect, that I can do this.
Don't they? That's like Psych 101, right? Like you must be doing something wrong when really you're the guilty party.
That's exactly right. And secrecy. I tell you, you've got to watch those phones. It's like another appendage. I have so many clients that say the person will sleep with their phone, put it under the bed, put it down so it doesn't show up. A lot of things, all the apps you can hide.
That's so interesting. There's two types of people in the world: the people that put their phone face down and the people that put it face up. It can be very telling.
Could be very, very telling. So.
We know that, of course, if you do find out or you do suspect, it can be debilitating. It can really just wreck your world. Why is it so hard to accept that this may be happening, and how do you handle it?
Well, this is your person, right? Whether you're married or you're in this long-term relationship, it's killing you. So you want to trust him. So you start thinking you're crazy. And this is really what is so difficult for so many people, because they gaslight and then you feel like you're crazy. You hang in there for a while.
Right, you want to believe nothing's wrong.
Start paying attention to those red flags, and your gut usually knows.
So before we get to viewer questions in our next segment, we do want to know, why is it so difficult to bring up to your partner if you suspect?
Same kind of thing, because they just turn it on you so much. But find the proof. This is the thing. Try to stay as calm as possible and really put your ducks in a row. Start to pay attention to some of these things and get a little bit of it under your belt, so when you come forward, you really have
there's some
proof.
substance. And to put your mind at ease, because if you have no proof, you just have a hunch. Intuition is great, but it might not be enough.
You're exactly right.
Okay. It is now time to ask the expert. We have a couple of questions for our family therapist, Juliana Litton. Thanks for taking these. First one is, how can you move forward in a relationship after they've broken your trust? I've made the decision to stay, but I'm struggling to move forward.
Wow. Well, I commend you for trying to stay, because that's really hard. But he or she, whoever is the betrayer, has to be held accountable. So when I work, 'cause it's one of the things I work with couples a lot on this, and it's very important that you both come in, you have to work together. There's a lot of stuff that has to be worked through. So it's not just one person who decides, I'm gonna suck it up.
Okay, got to be a team effort there, and there are solutions, so don't have to call it quits necessarily. This next one, my boyfriend had a 4-year-old when I met him. The mother of his child has been very disrespectful, and she's trying to get him to cheat. This is his first real relationship, and she's brought up child support for the first time ever after telling her that they're together. So what advice do you have for this situation?
Wow, well, that is so difficult. It is so complex. Some people, I don't know if how hard they've tried to kind of sit down. Sometimes that can't, be resolved that way. Mediation is an option. They do have mediation, those situations that can help with that. You could even go as far as counseling, but it is a tough one. People live in that triangle for a long time.
I was going to say, and especially at such a young age, sometimes it's easy to adapt to the family, but of course, the disgruntled ex, that's tough to work around.
It's very tough.
Okay, let's ask, Joanne from Chandler's asking, if someone from marriage 1 cheats, will they likely do it again in a second marriage?
Well, the stats aren't great on that.
Okay.
However, that's why you have to do the work on yourself. You can't, if you have an issue like that and you don't process it, boy, I tell you, if it's unprocessed, the likelihood that it's going to happen again in the next relationship is very high.
I mean, we're creatures of habit.
We are.
So if you do have bad habits, probably from an existing relationship, I mean, like you said,
the help
stats don't show.
Yeah, work it out.
Okay, Cassidy from Scottsdale has our next question. What can a partner do to keep their partner from cheating?
Oh, I wish we could do, just figure that out and be like, you're not going to cheat on me.
Straight answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can't make that happen. You've got to, again, work together at always fostering your relationship, finding ways to connect in deeper ways, and really it takes work to make sure you're both aligned.
And especially if you have those suspicions, like we said, maybe it's best to bring it up in a softball kind of conversation.
That's right. Hey, are you faithful?
How are you feeling? Yeah. Okay, next question is there a difference between when a woman cheats versus when a man cheats?
No. I mean, I'm just going to say no. It takes 2, right? So, you just have to, it happens all the time.
And parties are equally irresponsible in making those choices. It's not worse if one over the other
That's
does
right.
it.
That's right.
I know that I had one personally, which was, we talk about the impact of social media so often, and is social media maybe impacting Arizona? We know we're number 7. Is that playing a role in people's infidelity?
Because that goes into what we talked about with the secrecy. And oh my gosh, so much of that is happening on social media.
And you're just seeing what you think is maybe the grass is greener over there.
Yep. Old flames, old connections, all the talking. Yeah.
Let it burn out, guys. Let it burn out. Juliana Liddon, thank you for being in studio. It's a tough topic, but we love you for sharing your advice and insight.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to follow our YouTube channel for more content and watch the Ask the Experts segment weekdays at 4 p.m. and right here on our 12 Plus app.